I don't think I remember the first like moment, but I remember how it felt to listen to Velvet Underground for the first time, which was like weird and like I didn't like it or get it, and I was just like, this seems very noisy and like I don't really understand how this could be construed as beautiful by anyone. Like I wanted to like it because like someone had told me that it was cool and they were the best band ever and that, you know, a boy. Always. The first stuff I listened to was like on this like boxed set that my uncle had given to my brother. I would like steal CDs from my brother all the time because he had more of them than I did. And then I had this like really close friend in junior high. She was into this cool stuff that like her mom was into basically, and she knew about Velvet Underground. She knew how to like listen to it in a certain way and like what to pay attention to, and we would listen to it together, and she would sort of like open me up to things that she had like discovered through like her mom playing music for her. What I remember the most vividly is there was this time period where like a few times in a row in like probably 9th or 10th grade where like there was this, because it was the box set, there were some kind of like older, earlier bootleg versions of songs. There was this early version of Venus and Furs. It was super slow, super drawn out. We would go down into this space under my brother's room that like, it didn't have any windows. It was this box. And we would like listen to this early version of Venus and Furs on repeat and like turn off all the lights and just lay down in the dark and like listen to this crazy like weird early version of Venus and Furs like over and over again, and just like it would end and we would like click it back to the beginning and just lay down in the dark, just like not being able to see or hear anything else. That probably still has a huge influence on like how I hear and make music today. There's that age where like your brain is, the way that it takes things in is like you're just kind of a raw nerve, and stuff really leaves an imprint on you at that age. And the Velvet Underground is something that's like, it's pretty challenging stuff if you haven't heard anything like that before. And I had to like kind of have somebody guide me into liking it almost. And then when I did like it, just sort of the feeling of like getting over that hump was so satisfying, to have something challenge you, and then you listen to it enough and you figure out like what to pay attention to, that you find what's interesting in it, and then eventually you're just like hearing it as something that really is pleasurable to you, and it makes you hear everything else like completely differently. Maybe sometimes I want to listen to like Sister Ray and hear like a fucking crazy noise breakdown, and then maybe sometimes I want to like sit on a blanket in the park and listen to Who Loves the Sun, and like one is not more valid than the other. Nico's not just a pretty face, she's like a huge badass in her own right. Before anyone had really presented the narrative to me of like, there was the Velvet Underground and then Nico like came in, like I was just kind of like listening to all the songs as songs, like on whatever like disc in the boxed set I was listening to, just to listen to just the songs kind of loosely in a row. I think that was like the best possible way I could have heard all of that. Oh, this is CDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna start with 1. And that was like crazy bootlegs first, like before they even got into the real songs. And like, and that's a really cool way. It's like you're going through the whole process of the creation of like what they were doing with them. And it's so cool to hear earlier versions where they're not in control of everything and you're more inside their head, and you hear like how they got from point A to point B, or like from nothing to this polished song. There are like bootleg recordings of their early performances of them just like being totally insane and making all these crazy sounds that like people hadn't even heard before. You have to allow yourself to be challenged. You have to allow yourself to be put outside of your comfort zone and then somehow find a way to connect with it. I thought of you as my mountaintop. I thought of you as my peak. I thought of you as everything I had but couldn't keep. Linger on, your pale blue eyes. There's nothing really complicated that he says as far as just like vocabulary, and he doesn't say a lot. But at the same time, like the subtext is just like infinite. It's so specific emotionally while also being something that everybody can kind of read their own situation into. To me, that's like one of the perfect songs because it's so simple. But like, if you hear it at the right moment, you'll just be like totally shattered. And you can apply it to like every relationship you've ever been in. You know how everyone really loves The Big Lebowski, and even like kind of like annoying people who don't like The Big Lebowski? People like it because it's good. That's kind of how I feel about Velvet Underground. People like Velvet Underground and say that you're supposed to like them and that they're the greatest rock and roll band of all time because it's true. Because they're really good and like they'll change your world and like, you know, they're the best band of all time. The end. How's that for a sell?